Hello friends, welcome to today's session. In this session I am going to solve Mathematics Basic Sample Question Paper 2021. But before starting off with the solutions part, let's look at the pattern of the paper. The question paper is for 80 marks and the time duration is 3 hours. The question paper has two parts, part A and part B. Part A is for 32 marks and part B is for 48 marks. Part A has again two sections, section 1 and section 2. Section 1 has 16 1-mark questions and with an internal choice for 5 questions, and section 2 has 4 case study based questions and each case study based question again has 5 questions, out of which you have to answer only 4 questions. So section 2 is again for 16 marks. So total 32 marks for part A, and part B you have 6 2-mark questions and 7 3-mark questions. Both have an internal choice for 2 questions, and the last section 3 5-mark questions with an internal choice for 1 question. Now let's start off with solving of the section 1 problems. So the first problem is express 156 as the product of primes. This is nothing but the LCM of 156 and writing it down as product of primes. So here is the solution. You can see here 156. I have taken the LCM for 156 and it came around to be 2 into 2 into 3 into 13. So this is the answer for the first problem. Now let's look at the second problem. Write a quadratic polynomial, sum of whose zeros is 2 and the product is minus 8. So we have to write down a quadratic polynomial which implies the polynomial of degree 2, whose sum of the zeros, that means sum of the roots is 2 and the product of zeros is minus 8, that means product of roots is minus 8. What is the zero of a polynomial? It is the root for the polynomial, the root of the polynomial. The value for which the polynomial becomes 0 is called the root of the polynomial. Now let's look at the solution. So if we assume alpha and beta to be the roots of quadratic polynomial, then the equation becomes x square minus alpha plus beta into x plus alpha beta is equal to 0. So that means x square minus sum of the roots into x plus product of the roots is equal to 0. This is how the equation forms to be. So what will be the solution? X square minus sum of the roots is 2x plus product of the roots is minus 8 is equal to 0. So this is the solution for the problem. Now let's move to the third question. Given that HCF of 96 and 404 is 4, find the LCM of 96 and 404. So he has given the HCF of 96 and 2 numbers. We have to find out the LCM of the 2 numbers. So what is the HCF of 96 and 404? 4. We know the product of HCF and LCM is equal to the product of the two numbers. So here we know HCF and the product of two numbers and we can find out LCM. So 4 into LCM is equal to 96 into 404 and LCM becomes 96 into 404 divided by HCF, that is equal to 9696. Hope this is clear for you. Now let's move to the choice of this question. There is one more choice for this question. State the fundamental theorem of arithmetic. So he is asking for the fundamental theorem of arithmetic. So what is the fundamental theorem of arithmetic? Every composite number can be expressed as a product of primes, and this factorization is unique apart from the order in which the prime factors occur. So he is saying that every composite number can be expressed as a product of primes. For example, in the first question we have expressed 156, right? 156 as a product of primes, and this will be unique for each composite number. That's what he is trying to say in this theorem. Hope this is clear for you. Let's move to the next question. On comparing the ratios of coefficients, find out whether the pair of equations x minus 2y is equal to 0 and 3x plus 4y minus 20 is equal to 0 is consistent or inconsistent. First of all, he has given two equations, that is two lines, equations of two lines. and we have to find out whether those two lines are consistent or inconsistent. We say the two equations are consistent when it has a unique solution, and we say that the two equations are inconsistent when it doesn't have a unique solution. Now we have to find out whether these two equations are consistent or inconsistent. So here you can see if we assume a1x b1y plus c1 is equal to 0 and a2x b2y and c2 is equal to 0 as two lines, if a1 by a2 is not equal to b1 by b2, then the pair of equations become consistent. If a1 by a2 is equal to b1 by b2 is not equal to c1 by c2, then the pair becomes parallel lines, that is inconsistent. So let's calculate the ratios of a1 by a2 and b1 by b2. So a1 by a2 is equal to a1 is 1, a2 is 3, 1 by 3, b1 is minus 2, b2 is 4, minus 2 by 4. So a1 by a2 is 1 by 3, b1 by b2 is minus half. So both are not equal, right? So this pair of lines is consistent. That is, it has a unique solution. That means those two lines meet at one single point. Now let's move to the fifth question. If a and b are co-prime numbers, then find the HCF of a and b. If a and b are co-prime numbers, then find the HCF of a and b. It is very simple. What are the co-prime numbers? Two numbers are called as co-primes when it has no other divisor other than 1. So the highest common factor of these two co-primes will be 1. Right? The answer is 1. Hope this is clear. Now let's look at the sixth question. Find the area of a sector of circle with radius 6 cm if the angle of the sector is 60 degrees. So he has given the radius of the circle is 6 cm and the angle of the sector is 60 degrees. We know the formula for area of the sector, right? Which is theta by 360 into pi r square. The area of the sector is theta by 360 into pi r square. Here theta is the angle of the sector, r is the radius of the circle. So theta is equal to 60 degrees, r is equal to 6 centimeters, and I got the area to be 132 by 7 centimeters square. So this is the solution. What is the next problem? Here he has given a choice. A horse tied to a pole with 28 meters long rope. Find the perimeter of the field where the horse can gaze. So he has given that a horse is tied to a pole with 28 meters long rope. So it can gaze with the 28-meter long rope. It can make a circular gazing area, right? So and he's asking for the perimeter of the gazing area. So it will be 2 pi r. Given r is equal to 28 meters. So perimeter will be 2 pi r. 2 into 22 by 7 into 28. That is equal to 176 meters. He is asking for the perimeter of the gazing area. Here the clue is the horse gazes in the shape of a circular area when it is tied to a pole. That is the clue. Now let's move to the seventh question. In the figure given, in the given figure, DE is parallel to BC, angle ADE is 70 degrees and angle BAC is 50 degrees, then angle BCA is. So he has given angle ADE is equal to 70 degrees and angle DAE is equal to 50 degrees. So we have to find out angle BCA. This is the angle we have to find out. We know that ADE is similar to the triangle ACB. Triangle DAE is similar to triangle BAC. So angle AD is equal to 70 degrees, right? And angle BAC is equal to 50 degrees. So angle AED becomes 180 degrees minus 70 minus 50. That is this angle. This angle becomes 180 minus 70 minus 50, this angle. So it comes around to be 60 degrees. This is equal to 60 degrees. So angle ACB is also 60 degrees. This is also 60 degrees. Hope this is clear for you. He has given this angle and he is asking us to find this angle. We know that DAE is similar to BAC. So angle AED is equal to angle ACB. So we know the angle value of AED, right? 180 minus 70 minus 50, that is equal to 60. So angle ACB becomes 60 degrees. Now let's move to the next part of the question. In the given figure, AD is equal to 2 centimeters, BD is equal to 3 centimeters, AE is equal to 3.5 centimeters and AC is equal to 7 centimeters. Is DE parallel to BC? This problem can be solved using basic proportionality theorem. So what does the theorem say? If DE is parallel to BC, then AD by AB is equal to, if DE is parallel to BC, then AD by AB is equal to AE by AC. So we know AD is equal to 2 divided by AB becomes AD plus DB, that is equal to 2 plus 3, 5, 2 by 5. AE by AC becomes AE is equal to 3.5 divided by AC is 7, that is equal to 1 by 2. So here we see that AD by DB is not equal to AE by AC. So DE is not parallel to BC. The basic proportionality theorem is not satisfied. Hence the line DE is not parallel to BC. The cost of fencing a circular field at the rate of rupees 24 per meter is rupees 5,280. Find the radius of the field. So from the cost of fencing the circle, given the cost of fencing the circle is 5,280 rupees and each meter costs rupees 24. So from this we can get the perimeter of the circle, which is 5,280 divided by 24, that is equal to 220 meters. So 220 meters is the perimeter of the circle. Now we have to find out the radius. We know the perimeter formula is 2 pi r, right? So 2 pi r is equal to 220. Now r becomes 220 divided by 2 pi. So r value comes around to be 35. Now let's look at the ninth question. A tree breaks due to storm and the broken part bends so that the top of the tree touches the ground where it makes an angle of 30 degrees. The distance between the foot of the tree to the point where the top touches the ground is 8 meters. Find the height of the tree from where it is broken. So he said that a tree is broken. Look at this figure. A tree is broken and it makes an angle, and the broken part makes an angle of 30 degrees with the ground. Here it is 30 degrees. And the distance between the foot of the tree and the point where the tree touches the ground is 8 meters. And we have to find the height of the remaining part of the tree. We know that tan 30 degrees is equal to opposite side by adjacent side. So tan 30 becomes h by 8. We know tan 30 is 1 by root 3. So h height becomes 8 by root 3 meters. Now let's look at the 10th question. If the perimeter and the area of a circle are numerically equal, then find the radius of the circle. So he has given that perimeter and the area of the circle are numerically equal. What does this mean? Pi r square is equal to 2 pi r. Pi r square is equal to 2 pi r. pi gets cancelled and r gets cancelled. R is equal to 2. So what is the radius of the circle? R is equal to 2. Now the next question is, write the empirical relationship among mean, median and mode. Write the empirical relationship among mean, median and mode. So we have to find out the relationship between mean, median and mode. So what is the relationship? 3 median is equal to mode plus 2 mean. 3 median is equal to mode plus 2 mean. So that is the relationship between the median, mode and mean. Hope this is clear. So let's move to the 12th question. To divide a line segment BC internally in the ratio of 3:5, we draw a ray BX such that angle CBX is an acute angle. What will be the minimum number of points to be located at equal distances on ray BX? So, if we have to draw a line, there is a line BC. There is a line BC which needs to be divided in the ratio of 3:5. And how many points are to be drawn in the drawn on a line that is drawn with the acute angle to BC? So, it should be 3 plus 5, 8 points. In general, if a line is to be divided in the ratio of m:n, a line drawn at acute angle to this line has to be divided into m plus n points. Now let's move to the next question. For what values of p does the pair of equations 4x plus py plus 8 is equal to 0 and 2x plus 2y plus 2 is equal to 0 has unique solution? So if we assume a1x1, a1x, if we assume a1x plus b1y plus c1 is equal to 0 and a2x, b2y plus c2 is equal to 0 as two lines, then the condition for unique solution is a1 by a2 should not be equal to b1 by b2. So here for these two lines, what is a1 by a2? Four by 2 is not equal to p by 2. So that implies 4 is not equal, p is not equal to 4. So for all the values of p except 4, these two lines will have unique solution. So for these two lines to have a unique solution, the p can take all values except 4. How did we get 4? Because of the condition a1 by a2 is not equal to b1 by b2. This is the condition for getting a unique solution for the two lines. So 4 by 2 is not equal to p by 2. That implies 4 is not equal to p. What type of straight line will be represented by the system of equations 2x plus 3y is equal to 5 and 4x plus 6y is equal to 7? So he has given two lines and he is asking us of what type of straight lines will be represented by the system of equations. Here we will calculate a1 by a2, b1 by b2 and c1 by c2. So we got a1 by a2 as 2 by 3, b1 by b2 as 3 by 6 and c1 by c2 as minus 5 by minus 7. Here we see that a1 by a2 is equal to b1 by b2, that is 1 by 2, and it is not equal to c1 by c2. So this is a condition for the parallel lines, pair of parallel lines. So what system of equations does these lines represent? A pair of parallel lines. Now let's move to the 14th question. A bag contains 3 red balls and 5 black balls. A ball is drawn at random from the bag. What is the probability that the ball drawn is red? So in a bag there are total 8 balls. 5 plus 3, 8 balls. In a bag there are total 8 balls. So what is the probability of drawing a ball that is red? So how many possibilities are there in total? 8 possibilities. So a ball can be drawn in 8 ways, right? There are total 8 balls. And out of which I want only a red ball. A red ball can be drawn in 3 ways. So 3 by 8. is the answer. A die is thrown once. What is the probability of getting a prime number? So a die has 6 faces, right? So there are 6 numbers. So what is the total? What is the value? What is the probability of getting a number from the six numbers? 6, right? It can be 1, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. So the denominator becomes 6. And what is the probability of getting a prime number? How many prime numbers are there between 1 and 6? 2, 3 and 5. So what is the probability of getting a prime number? 2, 3 and 5. 3 numbers, right? So 3 by 6, that is equal to 1 by 2. The probability of getting a prime number is half. A tower stands vertically on the ground. From a point on the ground which is 15 meters away from the foot of the tower, the angle of elevation of the top of the tower is found to be 60 degrees. Find the height of the tower. So there is a tower that stands vertically on the ground and it makes an angle of elevation of 60 degrees to the tower from a point which is 15 meters away from the foot of the tower. So this is the diagram. So the distance between the foot of the tower and the point of angle of elevation is 15 meters and the angle of elevation is 60 degrees. We have to find out the height of the tower. So what will happen? Tan 60 degrees is equal to opposite side by adjacent side. That is tan 60 degrees is equal to h by 13. Tan 60 is root 3, right? So h is equal to 15 root 3 meters. So the height of the tower is 15 root 3 meters. The last question in the section 1, probability of an event E plus probability of event E bar is. So he is asking for what is the probability of an event happening and what is the probability of event not happening. Together they make 1, right? So the answer is 1. The total probability includes all the possibilities. Either the event can happen or the event cannot happen. There are only 2 possibilities. So the 2 possibilities together make 1. Now let's move to the section 2. Case study based questions are compulsory. Attempt any 4 subparts from each question. Each question carries 1 mark. So there are 5 questions for each case study question. You have to attempt any 4 questions of these 5 questions. So here he has given a picture of Red Fort in the 17th question, and there are 2 big domes and 2 big pillars, and there are 7 small domes in this Red Fort. The questions are based on this picture. Now let's read the question. First part of the 17th question, how much cloth material will be required to cover 2 big domes, each of radius 2.5 meters. So the formula for this is 2 pi r square. The surface area of the semisphere will be, hemispherical shape will be 2 pi r square. So the total surface area becomes 2 pi r square plus 2 pi r square, 4 pi r square. It becomes 4 pi r square. Now cloth required is equal to 4 into 22 by 7 into the radius given is 2.5 into 2.5. That is equal to 550 by 7, 78.57. Answer is B. So the solution is 2 pi r square plus 2 pi r square, which is equal to 4 pi r square. Because there are 2 domes, 2 hemispherical domes, we are considering 2 into 2 pi r square, that is 4 pi r square. So the answer after calculation, it comes around to be 78.57. B. Answer is B. Write the formula to find the volume of a cylindrical pillar. So what is the volume of a cylinder? Pi r square h a. Find the lateral surface area of 2 pillars if height of the pillar is 7 meters and the radius of the base is 1.4 meters. So he is asking us to find the lateral surface area of the 2 pillars. So the lateral surface of area of a pillar is 2 pi r h. And there are 2 pillars, right? So into 2, that is equal to 4 pi r h. Here r is 1.4 meters and height is 7 meters. See, two into 2 pi RH. H is equal to height is given, height is equal to 7 meters, radius is equal to 1.4 meters. So the lateral surface area of two domes becomes, two cylinders becomes 2 into 2 pi RH. That is equal to 123.2 meters square. So the answer is B, 123.2 meters square. How much is the volume of a hemisphere if the radius of the base is 3.5 meters? What is the volume of hemisphere? 2 by 3. Volume of the hemisphere is equal to V is equal to 2 by 3 pi r cube. Here r is 3.5 meters. So look at this. R is equal to 3.5 meters. Volume of the hemisphere is 2 by 3 pi r cube. So 2 by 3 into 22 by 7 into 3.5 into 3.5 into 3.5, that is equal to 89.83 meter cube. So the answer is D for this question. D. Let's move to the fifth part of the question. What is the ratio of the sum of the volumes of two hemispheres of radius 1 centimeter each to the volume of a sphere of radius 2 centimeters? So he is asking us to find the ratio of two hemispheres each of radius 1 centimeters to the volume of a hemisphere to volume of a sphere of radius 2 centimeters. So first of all, let's find out the volume of the hemisphere of two hemispheres of radius 1 each. So 2 by 3 pi r is 1, right? 1 into, there are two such hemispheres. 1 cube into 2 is to, what is the volume of the sphere of radius 2 centimeters? 4 by 3 into pi into r cube, 2 cube. So here 2, 4, pi gets cancelled, 3 gets cancelled. So it becomes 1 cube is to 2 cube. That is equal to 1 is to 8. So the answer is B, 1 is to 8. Now let's move to the 18th part of the 18th question. Here he has given a rectangular shaped garden. It is a garden. The saplings are sown at the border of the garden, perimeter of the garden. Each sapling is 1 centimeter wide to the next sapling. The distance between two saplings is 1 meter. And then there is a triangular shaped lawn, grass lawn in the middle of the garden. Now let's try to answer the questions. So he is asking us to assume A as the origin. Considering A as the origin, answer the 1 to 5 questions. Considering A as the origin, what are the coordinates of A? If A is origin, what are the coordinates? What will be the coordinates of A? It will be 0 and 0, right? It starts from 0. So answer is C. What are the coordinates of P? Where is P? P is here. So the coordinates of P will be, on x-axis it is 4 and on y-axis it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 4, 6. So what are the coordinates of P? It is A, 4, 6. Third question, what are the coordinates of R? In a similar way, he is asking for the coordinates of R. So R, x coordinate is 6. 6, y coordinate will become 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 5. So the answer is A, 6, 5. What are the coordinates of D? So he is asking for the coordinates of D. Here the x coordinate becomes 10, right? From 10, Here 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So the x coordinate is 16 and the y coordinate is 0 because there is no distance from the y axis. 16 comma 0. So the answer is A. What are the coordinates of P if D is taken as origin? So he is asking us to assume D as origin and is asking for the coordinates of P if D is origin. So the counting starts from here. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, -8, -9, -10, -11, -12. So the x-axis coordinate is -12 and the y-axis coordinate will remain 6 because we are moving to the upper side of the origin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So -12 comma 6 is the answer for the 5th question. Now let's move to the 19th question. Here he has given a kite. Rahul has made a kite and the questions are based on this kite. So let's read the questions. Rahul tied the sticks at which angle to each other? So he is asking for the angle here. This will be 90 degrees, right? The two diagonals are making an angle of 90 degrees at the center. So the answer is C, 90 degrees. Which is the correct similarity criteria applicable for similar triangles at the upper part of the kite? So in the upper part of the kite there are two triangles, right? Triangle 1 and triangle 2. This is triangle 1 and this is triangle 2. So he is asking for the similarity criteria that is applicable for these two triangles. First of all, this angle is same. Both angles are 90 degrees and 90 degrees. And this side is common. So S, A and one more side is also equal. This side is equal to this side. So this is SAS property. Sides of two similar triangles are in the ratio of 4:9. Corresponding medians of these triangles are in the ratio. If the sides of the triangle are in the ratio of 4:9, then their medians will also be in the ratio of 4:9. So the answer is B. In a triangle, if square of one side is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides, then the angle opposite to the first side of is a right angle. He is saying if there is a triangle like this, if the squares of two sides is equal to if the sum of the squares of these two sides is equal to the square of a third side, then the angle opposite to the third side will be right angle. This is the converse of the Pythagoras theorem, right? So answer is D, converse of the Pythagoras theorem. What is the area of the kite formed by two perpendicular sticks of length 6 meters and 8 centimeters? So it will be the product of the diagonal lengths, that is 8 into 6, 48 centimeters square. Answer is A. Now let's move to the 20th question. Here he has given a parabola. We have to answer the questions based on this diagram. Name the shape in which the wire is bent. Here you see a shape, right? He is asking for the shape of this wire. It is parabola. So answer is D. So how many zeros are there for the polynomial? For the wire shown above, there are 2 zeros, right? This wire meets the x-axis at 2 points. So that's why there are 2 zeros for this polynomial. Now let's move to the next question. The zeros of the polynomials are. So where does this wire meet the x-axis? It is at 3 and -1. So the answers are -1 and 3. B. The zeros of the polynomials are the points at which the y-axis meets the wire meets the x-axis. So that is 3 and -1. what will be the expression of the polynomial? So the expression of the polynomial will be x square minus alpha plus beta into x plus alpha beta. Here alpha and beta are the roots or the zeros of the polynomial. What are alpha and beta? Alpha and beta are minus 1 and 3. So it becomes x square minus 2x minus 3. That is C. Answer is C. Hope you understood this. The equation will be of this form: x square minus alpha plus beta into x plus alpha beta. Here alpha plus beta is the sum of the zeros and alpha beta is the product of the zeros of the polynomial. So it becomes x square minus 3 minus 1, that is equal to 2, x square minus 2x, and the product of these roots is 1 into minus 1 into 3, that is minus 3, x square minus 2x minus 3. What is the value of the polynomial if x is equal to minus 1? So he is asking for the value of the polynomial at x is equal to minus 1. So at x is equal to minus 1, the y is 0, right? So the value of the polynomial becomes 0, D. Answer is D. Now let's move to the part B. Here there are 6 2-mark questions, so total 12 marks, and there is internal choice for 2 questions. Let's read the 21st question. Find the coordinates of the point which divides the line segment joining the points 4, minus 3 and 8, 5 in the ratio of 3:1 internally. So if this is a line 4, minus 3 and 8, 5, it should be divided internally in the ratio of, say, x, y. It should be divided in the ratio of 3:1. That is the problem. So we have to find out x, y. So there is a point 4, minus 3 and 8, 5, and the line joining these 2 points are to be divided in the ratio of 3:1, and we have to find out the point that divides the line in the ratio of 3:1, that is x, y coordinates. The formula is, if we assume this to be x1, y1 and x2, y2 and this one as m1 and m2, then the coordinates of x, y will become becomes m1 x1, m1 x2 plus m2 x1 divided by m1 plus m2, m1 y2 plus m2 y1 divided by m1 plus m2. Here m1 is 3, m2 is 1, x1 y1 is 4, minus 3 and x2 y2 is 8, 5. And I have substituted the values in this formula. So I got the answer as 7, 3. Now let's move to the choice question in this 21. There is a choice question here. Find the relation between x and y such that the point xy is equidistant from the point 7, 1 and 3, 5. So there are 2 points 7, 1 and 3, 5, and there is a point x, y such that it is equidistant from both 7, 1 and 3, 5. So we have to find out the relationship between x and y. This is the question. So from this diagram we realize that the distance between 7, 1 and x, y is equal to the distance between 3, 5 and x, y. So we will represent that in the equation form. So you can see here x, y is equidistant from the point 7, 1 and 3, 5. So the distances become equal on a. So the distances become equal from x, y to 7, 1 and 3, 5. So I have made the distances equal. 7 minus x whole square plus 1 minus y whole square is equal to 3 minus x whole square plus 5 minus y whole square. And I have solved this equation and I got the relationship as x minus y is equal to 2. That is the answer for this problem. You can look at this explanation and how I have solved this problem. X square plus y square, x square plus y square gets cancelled on both the sides. And the resulting equation will be 50 minus 14x minus 2y is equal to 34 minus 6x minus 10y. So 14x plus 2y minus 6x minus 10y is equal to 50 minus 34. So 8x minus 8y is equal to 16. And that implies x minus y is equal to 2. So that is the relationship between the x and y. Now let's look at the 22nd problem. Here he has given a diagram. In the figure, if LM is parallel to BC and LN is parallel to CD, prove that AM by MB is equal to AN by ND. So here we are going to apply basic proportionality theorem or Thales theorem. So what does it say? If a line is drawn parallel to the third side in a triangle, that is these two lines are parallel. These two lines are parallel and these two lines are parallel. Okay, so if these two lines are parallel, then this line divides the other two sides in the same ratio. That is, in the triangle ABC, AM by MB is equal to AL by LC. Why? Because LM is parallel to BC. That's why. Because LM is parallel to BC, AM by MB is equal to AL by LC. Now in triangle ACD, since NL is parallel to CD, AL by LC is equal to AN by ND. This is equation 1, this is equation 2. From 1 and 2, we get AM by MB is equal to AN by ND. Hence it is proved. Now let's move to the next question, 23rd one. A quadrilateral ABCD is drawn to circumscribe a circle. Prove that AB plus CD is equal to AD plus BC. So here there is a quadrilateral and a circle is circumscribing that quadrilateral, and a circle is circumscribed. We have to prove that AB plus CD is equal to AD plus BC. Here is the diagram. So here DS and DR become the tangents to the circle, right? So DS is equal to DR. I'll show you here in this diagram. Here DS is equal to DR and RC is equal to CQ and AS is equal to AP and PB is equal to BQ. Right? Now let's prove that AB plus CD is equal to AD plus BC. What will be AB plus CD? AB is equal to, what will be AB? AB is equal to AP plus PB, right? That is equal to, AP is equal to AS. So AS plus PB is equal to BQ. because AP and AS are tangents to this circle, right? So I have replaced AP and PB with AS and BQ. Now CD. CD is equal to CR plus RC, right? DR, CD is equal to DR plus RC. That is equal to DR is equal to DS DR is equal to DS and RC is equal to CQ. So I have written CD is equal to DS plus CQ. Now AB plus CD becomes AS plus BQ plus DS plus CQ. AS plus BQ plus DS plus CQ. That can be rewritten as AS plus SD plus BQ plus QC. So AS plus SD becomes AD, BQ plus QC becomes BC. So AB plus CD is equal to AD plus BC. Hence it is proved. Now let's move to the 25th question. Given 15 cot A is equal to 8, find sin A and secant A. So in a triangle, let's assume this to be angle A. He has given cot A is 8 by 15, that is equal to adjacent side by opposite side. What will be angle the third side? Square root of 15 square plus 8 square. That is equal to 17. So the third side becomes 17. Then what will be sin A? Sin A is equal to opposite side by hypotenuse, that is 15 by 17. And what will be secant A? Secant A is equal to hypotenuse divided by adjacent side, that is equal to 17 by 8. Now let's move to the choice question. Find tan P minus cot R. Here he has given a triangle PQR. PQR. We have to find out tan P minus cot R. This side is given as 12 centimeters and this side is given as 13 centimeters. So 13 square minus 12 square, square root of 13 square minus 12 square gives 5 centimeters. So QR becomes 5 centimeters. Now what will be tan P? Tan P is equal to opposite side by adjacent side, that is 5 by 12. Minus cot R. What will be cot R? Adjacent side divided by opposite side, that is 5 by 12 again. So it is equal to 0. So tan P minus cot R is 0. How many terms of the AP must be taken to give a sum of 636? So he has given an arithmetic progression 9, 17, 25 and so on, and he is asking for us to find out the number of terms that are to be taken to get a sum of 636. So Sn is equal to 636 and the first term A is equal to 9, common difference D is equal to 17 minus 9, that is equal to 8. Now we know the formula for sum of the first n terms of the arithmetic progression, right? Sn is equal to n by 2 into 2a plus n minus 1 into d. We know the value of a, we know the value of d, and we have the value of Sn. By substituting the values of Sn, a and d, we can find the value of n. So you can see here I have substituted the values. N by 2 into 18 plus n minus 1 into 8 is equal to 636. So we will get a quadratic equation. 4n square plus 5n minus 636 is equal to 0. So if I solve this equation, I got two values for n. N is equal to 12 or n is equal to minus 53 by 4. So n can only take a positive integer number. It cannot be a negative fraction. So we'll consider the solution n is equal to 12, not n is equal to minus 53 by 4. Now let's move to the 3-mark questions. 27th first question, prove that root 3 is an irrational number. So we have to prove that root 3 is an irrational number. So let us start with the assumption. That root 3 is a rational number. Then root 3 can be written in the form of a by b, right? So a and b here a and b are integers and are co-prime. That is, a and b do not have any other common divisor other than 1. Now a is equal to root 3 into b. Squaring on both sides, we get a square is equal to 3b square. From this we find out that a is a multiple of 3. A is a multiple of 3. So a can be written in the form of 3c. Let us assume a as 3c. Because a is a multiple of 3, we can write a as 3c. So 3c whole square is equal to 3b square. 3b square is equal to 9c square. B square is equal to 3c square. Here we find out that even b is a multiple of 3. So our condition that a and b to be co-prime for root 3 to be a rational number has proved false, because we found out a and b to be the multiples of 3. So our assumption that root 3 is a rational number is false. Now let's move to the 28th question. Two tangents TP and TQ are drawn to a circle with center O from an external point T. Prove that angle PTQ is equal to 2 angle OPQ. So let's look at the diagram first. In this diagram, there is an external point T and two tangents are drawn to this circle from this point T, PT and TQ. And the center of the circle is O. And OP is the radius of the circle to the tangent. So angle TPO will be 90 degrees. This will be a right angle, right? This will be right angle. Now PT will be equal to TQ because these are the tangents to the circle from the same point. So PT is equal to TQ. I have written PT is equal to TQ. That implies angle, the angles opposite to these sides will also be equal, right? The angles opposite to these sides, that is this angle and this angle, are equal in this triangle PTQ. In triangle PTQ, angles opposite to PT and TQ will be equal. So angle TPQ is equal to angle TQP. But in the triangle, we know that the sum of the all angles is 180 degrees. In the triangle TPQ, we know the sum of all the angles is 180 degrees. So angle PTQ plus angle TPQ plus angle TQP is equal to 180 degrees. But we know that angle TPQ is equal to angle TQP. So I have substituted here angle TQP is equal to angle TPQ is equal to 180 degrees. So I got angle PTQ as 180 degrees minus 2 angle TPQ. This is equation 1. Let us remember this. We will use this equation later. Now we know angle OPT is 90 degrees. OPT is 90 degrees because radius makes 90 degrees with a tangent to a circle. So angle OPT is 90 degrees. And angle OPT can be written as sum of angle OPQ and angle QPT, right? So angle TPQ plus angle OPQ is equal to 90 degrees. Now angle TPQ becomes 90 degrees minus angle OPQ. This is equation 2. Now I will substitute this equation 2 in equation 1. In the place of angle TPQ, I will substitute 90 minus angle OPQ. So then angle PTQ becomes 180 minus 2 into 90 minus angle OPQ. Here 180 gets cancelled and angle PTQ becomes 2 times of angle OPQ. Hence it is proved. Hope this is clear for you. You can see the solution once again. We know that PT is equal to TQ because both are tangents from the same point to the circle. So the angles opposite to these sides will be equal. Angle TPQ is equal to angle TQP. Now in triangle TPQ, the sum of all the angles will be equal to 180 degrees. So that's what I have written here. The sum of the three angles is 180 degrees. We know angle angle PTQ becomes 180 degrees minus 2 times angle of TPQ. This is equation 1. We know angle OPT is equal to 90 degrees. Why? Because the radius makes 90 degrees with the tangent of the circle. So angle TPQ plus angle OPQ is equal to 90 degrees. Angle TPQ becomes 90 degrees minus angle OPQ. This is equation 2. Now I have substituted the value of TPQ here as 90 degrees minus angle OPQ. I have substituted equation 2 in equation 1 and I have solved for angle PTQ. So I got angle PTQ as 2 times of angle OPQ. Hope this is clear for you. Now let's read the 29th question. Meena went to a bank to withdraw rupees 2000. She asked the cashier to give her rupees 50 and rupees 100 notes only. Meena got 25 notes in total. Find how many notes of rupees 50 and rupees 100 she received. So let us assume there are x 100 rupee notes and y x 50 rupee notes and y 100 rupee notes. Then the total number of notes Meena received is 25. So x plus y becomes 25. Right? And the total amount she has received is rupees 2000. So 50 times x plus 100 times y is equal to 2000. I have started with the assumption Meena has x 50 rupees notes and y 100 rupee notes. So x plus y becomes 28, 25 and 50x plus 100y becomes 2000 rupees. Now I have solved these two questions, these two equations. X plus 2y is equal to 40. This equation becomes x plus 2y is equal to 40. X plus 2y is equal to 40, x plus y is equal to 25. I have subtracted one from another. I got y is equal to 15 and x is equal to 10. So Meena has 10 50 rupee notes and 1500 rupee notes. Hope this is clear for you. You can see this for a moment to understand. Let's look at the 30th question. A box contains 90 discs which are numbered from 1 to 90. If one disc is drawn at random from the box, find the probability that it bears a 2-digit number, a perfect square number, a number divisible by 5. So let's look at the first term, a 2-digit number. Find the probability that it bears a 2-digit number. If a disc is drawn at random from 90 discs, what is the probability that it is a 2-digit number? So how many 2-digit numbers are there between 1 and 90? There are 90 numbers, right? So I am subtracting the single digit numbers 9. So 90 minus 9 is 81. So 81 2-digit numbers are there. So 81 divided by total number of cards is 90. 81 divided by 90, that is equal to 9 by 10. So the probability of drawing a 2-digit number disc is 9 by 10. Now next. What is the probability that it bears a perfect square number? He is asking for a probability that the disc has a perfect square number. So how many perfect squares are there? Between 1 and 90, 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81. So 9 squares are there, 9 perfect squares are there out of 90, 9 by 90, that is equal to 1 by 10. So the probability of drawing a perfect square disc number is 1 by 10. Now let's move to the third question. A number divisible by 5. What is the probability that the disc drawn is a number that is divisible by 5? So how many multiples of 5 are there? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75 and so on till 90. So there are 18 multiples of 5. 18 divided by 90, that is equal to 1 by 5. Hope this is clear for you. Now let's move to the choice question. One card is drawn from a well shuffled deck of 52 cards. Find the probability of getting a king of red color. So how many kings will be there of red color? There are two decks of red color, right? One is diamonds and another one is hearts. So there will be two kings of red color. So 2 by, out of the total cards is 52. 2 by 52. 2 by 52, that is equal to 1 by 26. Now what is the probability that a card drawn is a spade? So how many spades will be there in a shuffle of 52 cards? There will be 13 spades. So 13 divided by 52, that is equal to the probability of drawing a spade is 1 by 4. Now next question, the queen of diamonds. What is the probability of drawing a queen of diamonds? So how many cards will be a queen of diamond? There will be only one card which is a queen of diamond. So it will be 1 by 52. The probability of drawing a queen of diamond is 1 by 52. Hope this is clear. Now let us look at the 31st question. Metallic spheres of radius 6 cm, 8 cm and 10 cm respectively are melted to form a solid sphere. Find the radius of the resulting sphere. So there are three small spheres of radius 6 cm, 8 cm and 10 cm respectively, and they are melted and together formed with a big solid sphere. We have to find the radius of the bigger sphere. Okay, so let's look at the problem solution. So we know that the volume of the sphere is 4 by 3 pi r cube. Right? The volume of the sphere is 4 by 3 pi r cube. So now the volumes of the bigger sphere will be equal to the volumes of the sum of the volumes of the three smaller spheres. Right? So 4 by 3 pi into 6 cube plus 8 cube plus 10 cube is equal to 4 by 3 pi r cube. So r is the radius of the bigger sphere, which is formed by melting all the three small spheres. Okay, so now 4 by 3 pi gets cancelled on either sides. R becomes cube root of 6 cube plus 8 cube plus 10 cube. So 6 cube is 216, 8 cube is 512 and 10 cube is 1000. So cube root of 1728. So 1728 can be written as 2 power 6 into 3 cube. So that becomes 4 into 3. 2 power 6 by 3 is 2 square into 3 by 3 is 3. 2 square into 3 becomes 4 into 3, that is equal to 12. So 12 is the radius of the bigger sphere. I will explain once again. He has given the volume of the that the volume of the bigger sphere is the sum of the volumes of the three smaller spheres. So I have equated the volume of the bigger sphere to the sum of the volumes of the three smaller spheres. And I have calculated the value of R and I got the answer as 12. Now let's move to the 32nd question. Prove that sin A minus cos A plus 1 divided by sin A plus cos A minus 1 is equal to 1 by secant A minus tan A. So this is an example problem from the textbook. So I have written the solution here. So first of all we will take the sin A minus cos A plus 1 divided by sin A plus cos A minus 1. We will divide the both numerator and denominator with cos A. So sin A by cos A becomes tan A, minus cos A by cos A becomes minus 1, plus 1 by cos A becomes secant A. In a similar way, the denominator becomes tan A plus 1 minus secant A. Now I will multiply this fraction into tan A minus secant A divided by tan A minus secant A. I will multiply and divide this fraction with tan A minus secant A. So if I multiply the numerator, tan A plus secant A into tan A minus secant A becomes tan square A minus secant square A minus of tan A minus secant A divided by the denominator. I will keep the denominator same. Now we know that secant square minus tan square A is equal to 1. So tan square A minus secant square A becomes minus 1. Minus 1 minus of tan A plus secant A divided by denominator. Now these two parts get cancelled. 1 minus tan A plus secant A divided by tan A minus secant A plus 1. These two are same, right? This is minus of 1 plus tan A minus secant A. So these two gets cancelled, minus 1 by tan A minus secant A, that is equal to 1 by secant A minus tan A. So hence it is proved. Sin A by cos A is equal to sin A minus cos A plus 1 divided by sin A plus cos A minus 1 is equal to 1 by secant A minus tan A. This is an example problem in the trigonometry chapter from page number 192. You can see this example problem in page number 192. Let's move to the 33rd question. A motor boat whose speed in still water is 18 km per hour takes 1 hour more to go 24 km per hour upstream, 24 km upstream, then to return downstream to the same spot. Find the speed of the stream. So he has given that a motor boat speed in still water is 18 km per hour and it takes 1 hour more to go 24 km upstream, then to return downstream to the same spot. Find the speed of the stream. So first of all, let us assume that speed of the stream as x km per hour. Then the boat's speed upstream will become 18 minus x km per hour. Why upstream? In upstream, the boat has to sail against the stream, against the speed of the stream. So that's why the speed reduces in upstream. That's why it becomes 18 minus x km per hour. In the downstream, the boat moves along with the stream speed. That's why the boat speed increases, that is 18 plus x km per hour. Now he has given that the time taken for the boat to complete upstream is 1 hour more than the time taken for the boat to complete the downstream. So that is equal to 24 divided by 18 minus x is the time taken for the boat to go upstream, is 1 hour more than the time taken for the boat to go downstream, that is 24 divided by 18 plus x. I have solved this equation. 1 by 18 minus x minus 1 by 18 plus x is equal to 1 by 24. I got a quadratic equation after solving this. You can see this for a while. So here I got a quadratic equation, x square plus 48x minus 324 is equal to 0. So I got the LCM of 324. I have solved it by splitting the multiple method. I have taken the LCM of 324 and I have written 48x as x square plus 54x minus 6x minus 324 is equal to 0. So I got the solution of x as minus 54 or x is equal to 6 km per hour. So the speed cannot be negative number. So the value of x is 6 km per hour. So the speed of the stream is 6 km per hour. Now let's look at the choice question in the 33rd question. Find two consecutive odd positive integers, sum of whose squares is 290. So he says that there are two consecutive odd integers, but they are positive integers, and sum of whose squares is 290. We have to find out the odd integers. So let us assume that a minus 1 and a plus 1 are the two odd integers, positive odd integers. So the difference between a minus 1 and a plus 1 is 2, right? So I have assumed a minus 1 to be first odd positive integer and a plus 1 to be the next consecutive odd positive integer. So what did he give? He gave the square, sum of the squares is 290. So a minus 1 whole square plus a plus 1 whole square is equal to 290. So I got 2a square is equal to 288. So a square becomes 144. So a is equal to plus or minus 12. We will consider a as 12, not minus 12, because he said that the integers are positive odd integers. If I take a as 12, the odd integers become a minus 1 is 11 and a plus 1 is 13. So the two consecutive odd integers are positive odd integers are 11 and 13. Hope this is clear. Now we have come to the 5-mark questions. There are 3 5-mark questions. So let's look at the first one. The angles of depression of the top and the bottom of a 8-meter tall building from the top of a multi-storied building are 30 degrees and 45 degrees respectively. Find the height of the multi-storied building and the distance between the two buildings. So here in this problem he has given that there are two buildings. One is a multi-storied building which is taller than the smaller building which is 8 meters in height. AB is 8 meters in height. PD is taller than the AB. It is a multi-storied building. So when we look from the top of the multi-storied building to the top of the 8 meters tall building, the angle of depression is 30 degrees. So this angle is 30 degrees. Now if I look at the bottom of the 8 meters building from the top of the multi-storied building, the angle of depression is 45 degrees. So angle QPA is equal to 45 degrees. This angle is 45 degrees. So as per the, because angle QP is parallel to angle AD, angle PAD will be 45 degrees. This angle will be 45 degrees and this angle will be 30 degrees. Hope this is clear for you. This is important. You have to understand this. This angle becomes 30 degrees and this angle becomes 45 degrees. Now let's assume because AB is 8 meters, CD will also be 8 meters. Now PC, let's assume PC to be x meters. So the height of the multi-storied building becomes 8 plus x meters. So we have to find out the value of 8 plus x. Okay, now let's look at the triangle APD. In triangle APD, tan 45 degrees becomes PD divided by AD, right? In tan 45 degrees becomes PD divided by AD. PD is x plus 8 divided by AD is divided by AD. Tan 45 degrees is 1 degree, right? 1. So 1 is equal to 8 plus x divided by AD. So AD becomes 8 plus x. So here now PD and AD are equal. Why? Because tan 45 degrees is 1. So AD becomes 8 plus x. Hope this is clear for you. Now we will consider the triangle PBC. In this triangle, tan 30 degrees becomes x divided by 8 plus x, right? Tan 30 degrees is x divided by 8 plus x because BC is equal to AD. See, x divided by 8 plus x. Tan 30 degrees is equal to 1 by root 3. So 1 by root 3 is equal to x divided by 8 plus x. And PD is equal, so 8 plus x is equal to root 3 into x. X is equal to 8 divided by root 3 minus 1. If I multiply on both sides with root 3 plus 1, not both sides, on the top and bottom with root 3 plus 1, I will get 4 into root 3 plus 1 meters. So x is 4 into root 3 plus 1 meters. Now what will be the height of the multi-storied building? It will be x plus 8 meters. So we have to add plus 8 to the x. So if we add plus 8 to the x, 8 plus 4 root 3 plus 4, that is equal to 12 plus 4 root 3, that is equal to 4 into 3 plus root 3 meters. So that is the answer for this problem. What will be AD? AD is also the distance between the two buildings is AD. AD is also 8 plus x. So it will be same as the multi-storied building. The height of the multi-storied building and the distance between the two buildings is same. That is 8 plus x. This is actually an example problem. It is example 6 from page number 202 in the chapter 9. Now let's move to the choice question in this problem. A 1.2 meter tall girl spots a balloon moving in the wind in a horizontal line at a height of 88.2 meters from the ground. The angle of elevation of the balloon from the eyes of the girl at any instant is 60 degrees. After some time, the angle of elevation reduces to 30 degrees. Find the distance travelled by the balloon during the interval. So he is saying that there is a 1.2 meter tall girl who is looking at the balloon. The balloon is at the height of 88.2 meters from the ground. So when the girl looked at the balloon for the first time, the the angle made was 60 degrees. The angle of elevation was 60 degrees. And when she looked at the balloon for the second time, the balloon has traveled some distance and now the angle of elevation is 30 degrees. So let's look at the diagram first. This is a problem in exercise 9.1, 14th question. I'll explain the diagram first. So this is EA is the 1.2 meter tall girl standing here and looking at the balloon. So here Q2C is the height of the balloon from the ground, that is 88.2 meters, right? Now the angle of elevation from point E to Q1 is 60 degrees. This is 60 degrees, and the angle of elevation from point E to Q2 is angle 30 degrees. This is 30 degrees. Now what will be the angle of Q2? What will be the length of Q2D? Q2D will be 88.2 minus 1.2. I am subtracting 1.2 because it is the height of the girl. So now let's consider the triangle EQ1F. So this is the triangle I am taking. In this triangle EQ1F, tan 60 degrees is equal to Q1F divided by EF. So let us assume AB to be small a and BC to be small b meters. So in triangle Q1EF, tan 60 degrees becomes Q1F divided by EF. So Q1F is equal to 87 meters, right? 87 divided by A. So tan 60 degrees is equal to 87 divided by A. So A becomes 87 divided by root 3. That is equal to 29 root 3 meters. So AB, we got the length of AB. We got EF is equal to 29 root 3 meters, right? This is 29 root 3 meters. So AB becomes 29 root 3. So I got the value of A as 29 root 3 meters. Now in triangle EQ2D, that is this triangle EQ2D, tan 30 degrees is equal to, in this triangle EQ2D, tan 30 degrees becomes Q2D divided by ED. See, tan 30 degrees becomes Q2D divided by ED. We know Q2D is 87 meters. Q2D is 87 meters. This height is 87 meters, right? Q2D. This is 87 meters divided by ED. ED becomes A plus B. So 87 meters divided by A plus B. So A plus B becomes 87 into root 3 meters. A plus B is equal to 87 root 3 meters. But we know B is equal to, but we know angle A is equal, but we know side A is equal to, length of A is equal to 29 root 3 meters. So we will substitute it here. B becomes 87 root 3 minus A. 87 root 3 minus A. A is 29 root 3. So 87 root 3 minus 29 root 3, that is equal to 58 root 3 meters. Hope this is clear for you. I will explain the solution once again. So there is a 1.2 meter tall girl standing here and looking at the balloon. The angle of elevation at the beginning is 60 degrees. So this is the angle of elevation when the balloon was here. Now the balloon has moved some distance and now the girl has looked at the balloon again and the angle of elevation is 30 degrees now. So this angle is 30 degrees. So let's assume AB to be small a and BC to be small b. So what do we have to find out? We have to find out the length of BC, that is the distance travelled by the balloon from Q1 to Q2. Q1 Q2 is equal to BC. Now if we consider the triangle EQ1F, tan 60 degrees becomes Q1F divided by EF. Q1F is equal to 88 minus 1.2, that is equal to 88.2 minus 1.2, that is equal to 87 meters. So Q1 tan 60 degrees is equal to Q1F divided by EF, that is equal to 87 divided by A. A is equal to 87 by root 3 meters, that is equal to 29 root 3. Now we got the value of small a. Small a is equal to 29 root 3. Now if we take the triangle Q2ED, tan 30 degrees becomes Q2D divided by ED. See, Q2D divided by ED, 87 divided by A plus B. So A plus B becomes 87 root 3 meters. Now we know the value of A, right? A is 29 root 3. From the first triangle we got the value of A as 29 root 3 meters. So I have substituted 29 root 3 here and got the value of B as 58 root 3 meters. So the distance travelled by the balloon is BC, that is equal to small b, that is equal to 58 root 3 meters. Hope this is clear for you. Now let's move to the 35th question. The pth, qth and rth terms of an AP are A, B and C respectively. Show that A into Q minus R plus B into R minus P plus C into P minus Q is equal to 0. So he has given that there are three terms in the arithmetic progression, that is pth, qth and rth terms, that are A, B and C respectively. We have to show this equation is 0. So we'll start with this assumption. Given AP is equal to A, AQ is equal to B, AR is equal to C. That is pth term, qth term and rth term. So let us assume that the first term in this series, in this arithmetic progression is A1 and the common difference is D. Then AP becomes A1 plus P minus 1 into D. This is the formula of AN. AN is equal to A plus N minus 1 into D, right? So AP becomes A1 plus P minus 1 into D, and that is equal to A. Now AQ becomes A1 plus Q minus 1 into D, that is equal to B. And AR becomes A1 plus R minus 1 into D, that is equal to C. Now we have the values of A, B and C. So let us substitute the values of A, B and C in this equation. In this equation, A into R minus Q plus B into R minus P plus C into P minus Q. I have substituted the values of A, B and C in this equation and solve this equation. So if I add all the A1 terms, this whole thing gets cancelled and becomes 0, and common difference D into P minus 1 into Q minus R plus Q minus 1 into R minus P plus R minus 1 into P minus Q. So if I solve the D coefficient, I'll get this also as 0. So the answer becomes 0. Everything gets cancelled and becomes 0. So you can look at the problem once again. He has given three terms in an arithmetic progression, AP, AQ and AR, that is pth, qth and rth terms as A, B and C respectively. Now we have to show that A into Q minus R plus B into R minus P plus C into Q minus P is equal to 0. So I have substituted the values of A, B and C as these values, these terms. A1 into P minus 1 into D, A1 into Q minus 1 into D, A1 into R minus 1 into D. And I have solved the equation and I got the answer as 0. Hope this is clear for you. Now let's look at the 36th problem. Here he has given a data of the heights of the girls. So we have to calculate the median height and the mean using the formula for this table. So this is an example problem from the textbook, example 7, page number 283. Now in order to, first of all, let's see how we can calculate the median of this median height of this table. To calculate the median height, first of all we have to extract the class intervals from this data, class intervals and this respective frequencies. So this is how I have divided it. I have divided the data into class intervals, that is 135 to 140, 140 to 145, 145 to 150, 150 to 155, 155 to 160, 160 to 165. Each the size of the class interval is 5. And now I have to calculate the frequency of the class interval. To calculate the frequency, for the first class it will become 4 only. It is same as the cumulative frequency. For the second class it will be 11 minus 4, that is 7. For the third class it will become 29 minus 11, that is 18. For the fourth class it will become 40 minus 29, that is 11. So in this way we will calculate the frequencies of the each class. Now we have the class interval, frequency and the cumulative frequency. So now we have the formula for calculating the mean is L plus n by 2 minus Cf divided by F into H. That is the formula for calculating the mean. Here you can see, right, median. For calculating the median, the formula is L plus n by 2 minus Cf divided by F into H. Here you have to explain the meaning of the each term in this formula. Here L represents the lower limit of the median class, n represents the total number of observations, that is 51, and Cf represents the cumulative frequency of the class preceding the median class, and F is the frequency of the median class, and H is the size of the class interval. Hope this is clear for you. Now we have to identify the median class. How do we identify the median class? We have to calculate n by 2. N is 51, right? So 51 by 2 is 25.5. Where does the 25.5 fall into? Here, in this class. 25.5 is less than 29, right? So it comes into 145 to 150 class. So this is our median class. So the lower limit L becomes 145, and the frequency of this median class is 18, and the cumulative frequency will become 11. That is the cumulative frequency of the class preceding median class, that is 11. So we will substitute the values in this formula. You can solve the problem exactly as shown in the example. So we have substituted the values in the formula. Here 145 is the lower limit of the median class, plus n by 2 is 25.5, minus cumulative frequency of the class preceding the median class is 11, divided by, it is 18 is the frequency of the median class, into H is the size of the class interval, that is 5. So I got the answer as 149.03. This is the median height of the class. Now he has asked there is some additional part in the question to calculate the mean height also of this class. So in order to calculate the mean height, it is not given in the book. So we have multiple methods to calculate mean height. Here I am using assumed mean method to calculate the mean height. In order to use assumed mean method, I am adding two more columns, xi and di. Here xi is the average of the each class interval. So for example, xi for 135 to 140 class becomes 137.5, and xi for 140 to 145 class becomes 142.5. In this way we will calculate xi. Xi for 150 to 155 becomes 152.5. So this is the average class height of the each class interval. So here we got xi's. Now we have to assume a mean here. It can be any value. I have assumed the mean to be 147.5. So this is our assumed mean. We are solving this problem using assumed mean method, right? So we have assumed a mean called 147.5. So from this mean we are going to calculate the distances of the other class means, that is di. So di is equal to, from assumed mean, for this class it becomes 0 because assumed mean is same as the actual as the class mean. Now for this class it becomes minus 5 because 147.5 minus 142.5 is minus 5. And for this class we are going further back, that is 137.5 minus 147.5 is minus 10. For this class it becomes 147.5, 152.5 minus 147.5 is 5. 157.5 minus 147.5 is 10. And 162.5 minus 147.5 is 15. So in this way we have calculated the distances from the assumed mean, that is 147.5. Now the formula for calculating the mean using assumed mean method is, mean is equal to assumed mean plus sigma fi di divided by sigma fi. Sigma fi di is the product of frequency into the distance from the assumed mean. So I have to sum the product of frequency into assumed means. That is equal to, see for example, how am I going to calculate sigma fi di? 4 into minus 10 is minus 40, 7 into minus 5 is minus 35, 18 into 0 is 0, 11 into 5 is 55, 6 into 10 is 60, 5 into 15 is 75. This is what I have calculated the summation of all those numbers here, divided by sum of fi, sigma of fi. Sigma of fi is 51. So after calculating I got the mean value as 149.74. So this is the average mean of the class, 149.74. Hope this is clear for you. In order to calculate the mean method, we are adding two more additional columns, that is xi and di. Xi and di. Here xi is the average of the each class interval, average height of the each class interval, and di is the distance from the assumed mean. So once we assume a mean here in the xi, we are going to calculate the distance from the assumed mean in the di column. Now the formula will become, mean is equal to a plus sigma fi di divided by sigma fi. So the answer came around to be 149.74. Hope this is clear for you. This is all. This is the last question in the sample question paper, basic sample question paper. I will solve standard question paper in another video. Please do subscribe to the channel, and please do give your feedback in the comment section below, and please subscribe and share the videos. That's all. See you.